Greetings to all the viewers and learners. Welcome to CEC lecture. The topic of analysis is government and governance. In this lecture, we shall try to understand the concept of government and governance. We shall attempt to explain the relationship between governance and government and discuss the development of public governance theories and administrative practices. Now, as we begin our learning, it is very essential for us to understand that what do we mean by government. Government is a very important topic, and government is very closely related to various issues concerning us. Government denotes exercise of authority in an organization, institution of state. It implies exercise of political authority over the actions, the political units, the people, amongst others. Government is an institution or a system made of people or group of people to look after the state. Now, as we are talking about government, it is essential for us to understand that governance is a very important topic. And when we talk about governance, governance is the act of governing or ruling. Governance is what governments do. Seen in today's scenario, wherein we are seeing that with the rise of contemporary societies, with the rise of plurality in the public sphere, where the state exists with non-state actors, governance is a broader term than government. As we try to understand this distinction between governance and government, we take reference to Max Weber's theory of bureaucracy to explain the perspective further. Max Weber, the German sociologist, author of the Protestant Ethics and the Spirit of Capitalism, for Max Weber, bureaucracy was the most efficient way to set up an organization, administration and organization. Bureaucracy was better than the traditional structures. For Max Weber, the ideal type of bureaucratic model must have task specialization and division of labor, hierarchical layers of authority, formal selection, rules, impersonality and personal indifference, followed by career orientation. Now, Max Weber's ideal bureaucratic model, if we try to understand, it definitely gave more emphasis to the idea of government, wherein we are looking at institution to manage the affairs of the state. The United States President Woodrow Wilson defined public administration as a detailed and systematic execution of public law. When we look at public administration as a discipline, the work of Woodrow Wilson is definitely seen as pioneering perspective to lead the discipline. For Woodrow Wilson, public administration was every particular application of general laws that was an act of administration. He divided government institutions into two separate sectors, administration and politics. Seen from the Wilsonian perspective too, it was the government which was separate from the administration, and somewhere the work of government was seen in a very narrow sense here. When we try to understand evolution of public administration, earlier it was a politics administration dichotomy 1887 to 1926. Woodrow Wilson's article, The Study of Administration, published in 1887, this is often considered as the origin of public administration as a discipline. So, government then was seen in the scheme of separation, that is politics, administration, dichotomy. Frank Goodnough's book, Politics and Administration, A Study in Government, further affirmed this idea of politics and administration dichotomy. And once again, in this time, government was seen within this dichotomic realm, and in this separation of politics and administration, the focus of government also was somewhere narrow in scope. In the second stage, wherein there was an attempt to come up with value neutral or rather value free science of management. And the context is very important, that is how because of industrial revolution there was an attempt to have a systematic theoretical ideas to lead the discipline. Frederick Winston Taylor's book Principles of Scientific Management and Henry Fayol, they generalize their principles of administration and management and they are grouped under the classical theory of administration. Henry Fayol presented 14 principles for better outcomes from the administration, and they were division of work, authority and responsibility, discipline, unity of command, unity of direction, subordination of individual interest to general interest, remuneration, centralization and decentralization, scalar change, order, equity, stability of tenure of personnel, initiative, esprit de corps. Gulick and Urwick's POTSCOP is particularly noteworthy also in this regard. It was an acronym of 7 functions of the administration, and that is P for planning, O for organizing, S for staffing, D for directing, CO for coordinating, R for reporting, B for budgeting. Now, why we are discussing it is to show that how earlier governance and government was seen synonymous in the narrow sense. Now, with the rise of era of challenges 1938 to 1948, Chester Bernard's book The Function of the Executive in 1936, the debate was that can we have this dividing line between politics and public administration, and that further there were question marks that the dividing line between politics and public administration was never possible. The next stage in the evolution of theory of public administration, that is the era of challenge, where principles and iron cage mechanistic view of administration and workers was challenged. The human relations theory brought about a pragmatic view to administrative issues. It emphasized on the human aspect of administration that sprung from the Hawthorne experiments conducted by Elton Mayo and his colleagues at Harvard Business School. The findings of the study, that is group dynamics, the social factors are important determinants of job performance and output. Groups have their norms and beliefs independent of individual members. Individuals are not solely motivated by compensation. Perceived meaning and importance of one's work are primary determinants of output. Further, the behavioral science school of thought propagated by Herbert Simon challenged the principles of administration and its mechanistic ways. According to Herbert Simon, administration management requires an inquiry into how decisions are made, how tasks are performed, and what is essential here is to know the process of organizational action. In his book Administrative Behavior, Herbert Simon argued that making a decision is really making a choice between alternative courses of action or even between action and non-action. The next stage in the evolution of administrative perspective and the discipline of public administration was that of the crisis of identity stage. late 20th century, wherein many parts of the world were just coming out of wars, colonization, rise of newly independent developing nations. Here, earlier it was understood that earlier concepts which gave a narrow perspective failed to answer the issues. The concept of new public administration with Dwight Waldo's work and the first Minnerbrook Conference in 1968 is important to mention here. New public administration, that is, and the idea of NPA, has to be understood with reference to the turbulence of the late 1960s and early 1970s. Now, as we understand the idea of governance and government, it is essential to see that how government, which only denoted exercise of authority, the exercise of political authority, with the changes in this public sphere, the institutional apparatus with respect to government also had to be changed. And herein the debates comes up, that is to understand the functions of the government, authority, administration, law and order. In order to understand the governance, the act of governing, it becomes essential to look at how there were changes with respect to the fundamentals of understanding of administration. Government is one of the institutions, therefore, in governance. So, therefore, governance implied various ways in which social and public life can be coordinated. And this governance, that is with respect to understanding that how is the power exercised through a nation's institution, has to be then situated with reference to the dynamics of changes of administration also. This is why, dear learners, it is important to see that how with the evolution of public administration as a discipline, the debate between government versus governance received new inputs at every stage. Earlier, it was seen with the aspect of politics administration dichotomy. With time, it was understood that mechanistic view may not work out, and with the rise of the human relation perspective, the behavioral science school and the new public administration, the turbulences of the 60s and 70s, rise of new nations, conventional administration aspects were unable to give response to the escalating issues and turmoil. New public administration therefore gives emphasis towards values, ethics, social equity and change. With this focus on values, ethics, social equity and change, the issues concerning government too also had to factor them in. So, therefore, we see the rise of governance administration, the rise of ethical governance, the rise of corporate governance, ecological governance amongst others. Farrell Heady, as we try to understand new public administration, he points out, and we quote, new public administration this movement reaffirmed the breakdown of the traditional emphasis on techniques of administration and stressed the obligations of public administrators to be concerned with values, ethics, morals, and to pursue a strategy of activism in coping with problems of society. So, seen in this regard, government, namely as an institutional apparatus, could not be seen in a narrow sense. One had to understand the functions of the government, namely law and order, administration, preserving borders, ensuring peace, ensuring welfare, within a broader scheme also with values, ethics and morals. So, therefore, governance becomes an important topic. As we talk about new public administration, we must take reference to how the conference papers were published in the book titled towards a new public administration, the Minau-Brook Perspective, edited by Frank Marini, 1971, to give us an insight that how within this churnings of administration, the dichotomy between government and governance was also being subtly debated. The second Minau-Brook Conference focused towards social equity, wherein there was concern for democratic values, and it talked about that it offered that it is a duty of public administration to promote democratic value, and within the broader understanding that the environment for administration was rapidly changing and becoming complex. Now, with this focus of rapidly changing environment, once again we see that how this division between governance and government becomes essential, that no longer we can situate the public sphere, the activities of governing the state only to the institutional perspective, only towards the government. Governance has to be deliberated in order to understand and help in the functions of the state. The second Minau-Brook Conference 20 years later in 1988, again the context is very important. The Cold War was approaching towards its end. There was rise of globalization, new forms of interconnections, rise of multiple power centers, end of bipolarity in the world, and with this we see that how there was a debate that how the public sphere has multiple actors. So therefore, institutions, processes, phenomena to govern them, to guide the administration has to take the focus away from just focus on the government towards governance. The third Minau-Brook Conference took place in 2008. It was organized in the two phases, that is on the theme the future of public administration and public management and public service around the world. So what we see here is today public policy has become important, wherein an attempt is made by government to address issues, public issues, by coming up with laws, regulations, decisions, actions pertinent to various issues at hand. Today what we see here is that the realm of public administration, which was earlier marked by dichotomy of administration and politics, later witnessed attempts to come up with value-free neutral principles to guide the discipline, and later seeing the rise of behavioral school, the human relations school, the focus towards values and equity, and the need to look at changing dynamics of the environment. Today there are issues like public-private partnership, which again have a bearing with reference to the debate on governance and government. The movement towards political economy, which again has an important linkage with respect to the state market debate, the debate between the space for government and the scope for governance. New emerging goals of public administration, namely efficiency, that is technical efficiency, which is very important, effectiveness. Today they are becoming ultimate goals of public administration. So seen in this evolution of public administration as a discipline and the bigger picture of how ideas with reference to administration witness change, in every phase we can see that the distinction, the dichotomy, the bifurcation of governance versus government is an important question which every nation and the public discipline of political science and public administration has dealt in various phases. Today we all know there are huge changes with reference to government apparatus as well as with reference to the governance mechanism. Hierarchies are challenged because of rise of globalization. Globalization always existed. Example, the Great Silk Route. But because of globalization, which today in the present time is being led by technology, rampant innovations, communication revolution, no doubt globalization is contested. The world witnessed the rise of populism. However, interdependence did not take a backseat. And today this technology which has led to space-time compression has challenged the hierarchies. That is, today the bifurcation between what is the government sphere or what is the market sphere is being challenged. What is local is connected to the global and what is global is connected to the local. So therefore, it is replaced by in which many services are provided through multiple organizational programs. So what we see here is that today the public sphere works in partnership with the private sphere. The state works with non-state actors like NGOs, civil society, industrial forums, amongst others. In this aspect, what we see that these programs, if we take input from the work of Higem and Porter, these programs are essentially interconnected clusters of firms, governments, associations which come together within the framework of these programs. Further, governance then as a topic becomes broader than government. Another important perspective that we get from Stoker with reference to the governance and government debate, that is, governance implies new process of governing or a changed condition of ordered rule or new method by which society is governed. So what we see, the perspective that we get from Stoker's work, that new method, it is essential that today we have to understand that the context of working of the state and administration has changed. In order to have a more efficient and responsive administration, one has to see that the work of government has to be situated within a broader framework of looking at mechanisms of governing, wherein governance comes into picture. The conceptualization, if we go by literature and again taking the input from Stoker's work, the conceptualization of governance is slightly contested in the literature, which can be also associated to the various meanings that have been attributed to the concept. Another important perspective that we get from J. Peer, who argues that governance then on one hand refers to empirical manifestations of the state adaptation to its external environment as it emerged in the late 20th century, and on the other hand, governance denotes a conceptual or theoretical representation of coordination of social systems and for the most part the role of state in that process. Once again, an important perspective from J. Peer and B. Guy Peters in their work Governance, Politics and the State, there is a discussion on various views on governance and how it is best understood. For them, the concept of governance is notoriously slippery and is often used by scientists, practitioners without a common definition shared by all. Now, why is governance important? We have to understand that government has always been an important pillar to ensure law and order, peace, security, welfare. This government today faces a challenge where state, the administration is witnessing new changes. Good governance creates strong futures for any organization, and state is no different here. Public sphere is no different here, because governance continuously steers towards the vision, the aims of the polity, and making sure that day-to-day management is always in line with the goals of the government. Governance then is also about leadership. A good leadership is also essential in order to chalk out the best from scarce resources. Poor governance has its own cost. It can put organization at the risk of various types of failures. The rights-based approach to governance, that is, holders of rights should also fully participate in deciding how those rights are fulfilled, such as participation and greater empowerment, is then also essential to be seen here, because governance then opens up avenues for citizen participation and greater empowerment in the polity. So, dear learners, government is the act of looking after the affairs of the state. management of political authority. When we try to understand political authority, that is the perspective of authority that we get from Max Weber, also read in tandem with his work on bureaucracy, that understanding of hierarchy is challenged today. Woodrow Wilson also presented the idea of administration from politics and administration dichotomy. Today, one cannot have that separation of politics and administration because the domain of state and public sphere is much more contested. So, in order to have a pragmatic view of issues concerning the state and the role of government, one has to understand the changes factored in the context, and therein it becomes essential to understand the issues concerning governance. Dear learners, we hope that the lecture presented to you significant inputs concerning issues involved in government as well as governance. This lecture presented to you significant inputs, we hope, with respect to understand this relationship of governance and government while looking at evolution of not only public administration theories but also with reference to changes in the context of the larger public sphere. We look forward to positive, encouraging feedback from you all. Thank you very much.